three forces make or break AI adoption and will impact your career. I recently advised executives on AI adoption at Plug and Play. I found that CEOs do not openly admit they are investing heavily in AI but have no map. They are drilling holes inside their organization, hoping to find something. They're draining cash, laying off people, but yet to find meaningful value. Watch this video, and by the end, you'll understand these three forces and how to leverage them for your next career move so that you thrive in the AI era and not be left behind. Three forces I'm going to talk through. Number one, how those at the top are thinking about AI and how that defines the incentive for how the organization thinks about it. Number two, based on the first force, who ends up being handed to lead the transformation, and the persona of that person defines whether you really go for real outcomes or for optics. And then the third, closely linked with the first two, is where do you start? How do you point AI to get the right thing? Finally, we'll use these three forces that act as a vicious cycle into how do you use this for designing your next career move, whether you're inside an organization or you've left on your own to provide services to organization. I'm Shujaat Ahmad. For 20 years, I was a corporate anomaly, myth-busting for executives across industries and the leading brand names in Fortune 50 companies on how they embrace disruption through talent, culture, and redesign for the future of work. The key force defining how AI adoption happens in your company is how the person sitting at the top is thinking about AI. And that depends on whether you're in a demand-constrained business or a supply-constrained business. A demand-constrained business is where your revenue is not high enough that justifies your cost. So naturally, CIOs, CFOs, CEOs, they're going to use AI for cost cutting here. Majority are going to be in demand constrained business right now because of the economy, tariffs. A supply constrained business is where you have so much demand coming that you need your people to be producing more without getting burnt out. Even if there's talent available in the market, it takes time, which is money, to replace someone, train them, and you're also losing tribal knowledge. So in a supply constrained business, the leaders are focused on AI to take off the grunt work away from our employees, help them produce more without being burnt out. They don't need to be laid off. So there's going to be used more for innovation and helping employees. If you're lucky to be in a supply constrained business, so how does it change how leaders behave if they're in one of these businesses? If you're in a demand constrained business, the incentive is for projects that have got cost. They might sugarcoat it, change management and communications gets them to package it, but they are very clear they want cost cutting. Who gets this transformation role is depend on who can help them play this game, find ways to cut and take out people who resist the change. What I'm seeing on the ground is that the people who are actually innovative, who know the actual use cases that can help the business, are not actually the people who get handed these roles. AI is being used for cost cutting, but the people who are handed off this AI role are also using AI for optics. And when those don't work, they say, hey, let's cut people and justify that AI is helping cut people when it's actually not being used. It becomes an optics case. If you're lucky and you're in a supply constrained business, the CXOs want AI to help you do more volume without getting burnt out. Their incentive for projects is to reduce burnout for humans to scale. And who gets this transformation role is mostly a super user, whoever can showcase that they can use AI in their domain and bring in change. They're handed these roles because they need someone interested, curious, and passionate about jumping in, changing workflows, and helping others. And then leaders actually start doing human in the loop rather than just claiming it, because they understand we want to keep the human, we want to put AI in that can help the human do more in their job. So what does this mean for you? Read your business. Are you in a demand-constrained business or a supply-constrained business? Read signs for how your C-suite are signaling in subtle ways. They're talking about productivity and use AI, and we need to do more with less. We'll start giving an idea, where are they going to use AI for? Then, regardless of whether you are in a demand-constrained business or supply-constrained business, the common denominator for success is apply AI in your domain. That's the highest rewarding path, where you can apply it, showcase it. And if you happen to be stuck in a demand constrained business, you can go off to a smaller player, because mostly smaller players are supply constrained, and you can get to use whatever you can showcase. You can further build out your credentials of putting AI against your domain without the fear that, hey, I'm doing this so that I get cut off and the snakes come out. There are snakes in this oil ground. If you are building services, if you are outside of corporate, either being forced to exit or left on your own, and you are now using your expertise, especially if you're a non-technical person and you're offering services now to employers, understand this, that what is the business supply constraint or demand constraint? Is the end user looking to use AI to cut costs, or are they using to enhance it? One of the examples I saw ahead at the summit, a lot of the industries, the communication, the documentation is not digitized. Like a brand. Retail has traditionally been about physical retail that got shifted to e-commerce. What I saw here at the summit was that those who started as e-commerce businesses are now getting into in-person shopping businesses because people want to go meet people in person, even though they are used to the convenience of ordering online. Those who had brand expertise, companies said, hey, we don't need them in the era of, but they know how the human experience inside a brand actually works and worked on retail design, are now working with smaller players who are trying to disrupt the retail space and say, all right, we can use AI to help you design and simulate spaces really faster and do a new experience of when a consumer walks in who are used to buying online and now get a very human interactive experience, which is heartening. This is how you should be thinking about this. So now let's get to the second force. Who is at the top leading AI? Then defines who is given that role of leading AI transformation in the company. The persona of who the person is matters. On one extreme, you have the techies, people who've been running technology inside a company or their enterprise IT inside a company. In tech and non-tech, I see a lot of them being charged with this. Traditionally, they've been focused on they can't serve everyone inside a company. It's a negotiation game of what projects they can do and what they can't. They are leveraging AI to figure out where can we justify budget, but can also justify increasing our capacity for some of our pet projects, especially as security becomes a key concern. Their key focus is on how do we use AI to make our technology deployments better and serve more people and justify who we can inside a company. They're not really solving for business impact. They want to, but the mandate is not there. The folks I met reporting into CIOs, the CIO is focused on cost cutting. Even if I wanted to make it more business oriented and value oriented, the CIO is focused on, baby, bring me back what helps us justify the budget game end of the year. The other extreme are the career opportunists. These are just who have no skin in the game, but they know that the writing's on the wall for them with AI. So they are focused on, this is an opportunity to latch onto. The next couple of years, companies won't figure out AI. They're going to screw it up. I can latch onto a very sexy role. I understand how to play the game of politics. I understand what the C-suite is looking for. I can be good with stakeholders. I can keep these conversations going. But they're focused on optics, not outcomes, because they've not really worked on the ground. The career has been around moving from one place to another without being an expert in one area and passion around business value. You see that in corporate. This is obvious in who's running the transformation role. These career opportunists who have built their career of managing up, ride the tide with the C-suite. Companies won't have figured out AI transformation for a couple of years. They're going to screw it up. They don't care. They're like, let's jump onto this train because they'll be left behind. And they'll be caught with AI basically, because AI will catch you if you're creating value or not. They please the right people, but they're actually not delivering anything. They're looking for optics and using it as a stepping stone for where else do I go because I did AI transformation. You'll find a lot of them on panels claiming that they did AI, and now people are becoming smart enough to understand that have they really done this or not. And then there's a third one that falls in between, not just for AI, but for what I've seen in my own career pivots in analytics, in strategy, and people analytics, is a central person who is a cross-domain person, someone who's seen technology, someone who's seen the business, someone who's seen the human side, a cross-domain expert, understands the business context you're in, understands the human side of what will impact humans to adopt this and what do they actually need, has a passion or interest, has some skills in technology, and understands what innovative ways to get customer value is. This is the sweet spot. This is similar to when analytics became a hot thing. On one end, you had people who were purely data scientists who wanted to solve analytics for analytics' sake, not solving a business problem. On the other extreme, you had salespeople who were selling analytics, they were building their career as analytics leaders, and they did not know what was under the hood. The real value was in between the translator. I designed my career when I was in strategy consulting, looking at analytics, and then going into people analytics as well, that this is the missing piece. The translators. That's the same thing we're seeing in the person who doesn't need to be techie and doesn't need to be the pretender. They need to be in the middle, understand how to use AI in their domain, understand the business context, understand the industry context, and then understand the human side of this. And they are the ones who are then able to publicize it, explain it to others. Those kind of people who are leading that are the ones who understand what's the change management required, where do we really pick the right use cases that are going to give bang for the buck. And even though if your top C-suite is asking for something different, they have this itch to prove this and show that there's a better way of doing this. So what does it mean for you? People who understand the technology system for what's possible, understand the human system for what's probable and what will get adopted and drive value. That gap is your opening. If you're in corporate, if you can fill this gap, you are the person who looks at what's the right place that is looking for this and looking to grow, and where can I have the expertise, I have the context, I have showcased that in my domain, across domains of human, tech, and business. I show that fluency. If you happen to be who is not in corporate but offering services to companies, this is your opening as well. This is what buyers are going to pay attention to. This is what's going to drive value. I see a lot of people focus on showing here's the features we can do with AI versus what's the actual end value that we can drive for you as a business, as a company. This leads to the third force, which is where do you start? Are trying to start with technology, which has been the wrong move, which goes back to who is the person leading it and what's the incentive. The techies have been focused on deploying technology. The career opportunists, they're focused on whoever can make the best pitch, who can help me showcase internally that I can talk credibly about AI and buy me some time so that I can build my next career move. That has been the wrong move, because the fundamentals of business do not change. End of the day, you're here to drive value for customers who are willing to pay a premium for the way you drive value. Now, you have to see if does AI help you get there better, faster, give you a differentiator. Start with the business case. Start with what the business number is that you're trying to solve. A financial number, customer number, new market, and then what are the key use cases that have the best probability of getting you there? And then does AI help you really get there? Starting with technology gives you possibility. Starting with business gives you probability of success. People can talk about what's possible and they'll sell you dreams and snake oil. What is success is who can also define what is probable. And even if it's thought to be impossible, can make it probable through right experiments and right way of doing this. Look at the business situation. Think about using AI, because AI is expensive, on what is the innovation upside that you get from it. Map the human work that is currently happening first and find where AI creates leverage, understanding what actually makes the work valuable, which is the people, the experts involved in there. What does this mean for you? If you are working as a professional in corporate, as well as someone who's gone independent on their own, become the use case owner. If you become the use case owner, where you know those use cases because you already have years of life and domain expertise combined into a package of wisdom, that you understand where most leverage is going to be, where the upside is going to be. You've seen ups and downs in businesses. You become the use case owner, not a features and FOMO machine on, hey, everyone needs to figure out AI. Where you go depends on how the C-suite incentive is and who is leading it. But if you are the one starting with the use case and you can showcase that you know the use case is right with AI, you can go to a smaller player that is supply constrained, looking to grow, not looking to cut people. You will be able to practice the use of AI, build your credentials with AI, and as the market improves and the companies that you're working with are going to become the future leaders in an AI native world who also bring human along, you'll be the person leading transformation in the future because you've understood what to really solve for and you've actually done this. What makes or breaks AI adoption is based on three forces, and these three forces are connected. How the person at the top is thinking about AI and what incentive are they solving for? Are they solving for innovation upside, or are they solving for cutting costs through people? Then that defines who gets selected to run AI transformation through the company. And then third, where do you start off with? Do you start off with specific business use cases, or you start off with technology first? Because technology first gives you possibility, but business first gives you probability of success. What this means for you is that you do not need to be the most technical person in the room. but you need to be the best person who understands the system more than anyone else. The system is a system of your industry context, system of business, system of technological possibility. Your expertise is not obsolete. It is the context I needs, and it can't generate on its own to drive value. So you are creating optionality for you for AI startups that are going to become the next big companies, as well as existing companies are looking to deploy AI to get more value out of it. You will become that by becoming the person who runs and understands the context with AI. If this resonated with you, please hit a like. It helps me a lot to produce more of these. With that, thank you and bye.